Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to paint the bottom of this before I start on here. So I'm going to lay these off. I'm going to decoupage those on, and I'm going to lay them over to the side. And I'm going to put them in this white part, but I'm going to paint this, and I want to paint this part first. And I'm just going to paint this one. I'm not going to do any stripes or anything on it. I don't want to do that. It's not the focal point of this piece, so I'm just going to do this kind of plain and use that, the metallic colors. I work with a wet palette. I've got my palette over here. Let me see if I can turn my camera just a little bit here. Okay, I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. And I'm going to mix me some paint. And I think I'm going to use this blue. This is called teal. This is Deco Arts Dazzling Metallics, and it's a teal color. And I mixed up a little bit here to see what I would get, so I think I'm going to use it. A little in Sevierville last time I was there. We stayed in a motel across from the restaurant. Yeah. We have so many. Of course, if you're, the tourist is what makes people's living here, so you can't complain because we have tons of tourists. But if you're local, you learn, like we are, you learn how to get around in town or to go where you want to go. And I live right out close to the interstate, so I can go to Knoxville or I can go up the interstate back and forth. I don't have to go to town if I don't want to do anything, unless you want to go to Dollywood. And I don't do that, so I don't worry about it. Okay, now see, I've got my blue. Always when you mix paint, girls, you want to start with your lightest color. You never would put that black out and then add your metallic color over to your black, because you'd be working, you'd have this whole thing filled with paint before you would ever get any semblance of what color you wanted. So start with your lightest shade and then add your black over to your other shade. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of my black on my palette knife, and I'm going to mix it in this metallic blue. And I'm just going to mix until I see something that I like from the eye, that it looks good to me from the eyeball. Nothing, and this is nothing you can repeat. You can't mix two colors at the same time. You couldn't make two pieces for the life of you that would have the same color on them, because anytime you're mixing paints, you're not going to get that same shade. So more than likely I'm going to have to put two coats on this. So I'm going to put one on it. Then if I have to mix more paint, I'll put a whole nother coat on it, and that way I'll keep my colors. But I've got just a shade there that I think I'm going to like. So I'm going to clean my palette knife off, find me a paintbrush, and I'm going to go right under here and paint this. Let's get a little bigger one. Just use a good sized paintbrush, and I'm going to just start painting this down up here. Now one coat is not going to, cover it. It's going to take more than one. And I will go back later and paint the back of this one. Usually I don't paint the back of silver, but since I've begun to spray that one, where I spray, when I put my white on, I always spray. So I don't, I don't use, majority of the time, I don't use chalk paint, hardly ever. I use white, Rust-Oleum's white, 2-in-1, and I take them outside and spray them because I like that smooth finish you get from spray paint. And you have to let them sit at least 24 hours before you go in to work on them. So when I sprayed this, when I got the paint out on the side, I should have went ahead and sprayed the whole thing on the back. So I will have to go back and paint this. When I won't spray it, I'll put a brush on it. But see, you can see that, see how pretty, that's going to take two coats. Right now it just looks kind of messy, but it's a really pretty color. It may take 3 coats. But I'm going to get that one on there, get one coat on, and let that be drying while we're working on the top. That way we can go back and put that other color on it. I love these metallics. And it's hard to work under there where you're under that piece. You got to fix that. And I'm going to go ahead and paint the bottom. This section right here, I'm going to paint it too. This is not a hard project, nor is it take a long time to do it. It's not hard at all. I varnish. Everything I do gets varnish on it. And I will use a brush-on varnish on this one. I use a brush-on varnish by Josanya in gloss finish. And I will put multiple coats on this one. I would kind of like to resin it, but I'm not too skilled with resin yet. I've been playing with it, and I don't want to put the resin up on this side, which would be very hard to do. So I'll probably just put multiple coats of brush-on varnish on it. By multiple, I mean 8 or 10 coats. Won't guarantee it to be food-proof. I don't never say anything is absolutely food-proof, but it's beautiful. So when I sell things, you know, I don't say, yes, I'm going to guarantee to you that is food-proof, because that's very hard to get. Okay, now you can see what it's a good start there. It's just a metallic kind of a greenish blue color. That'll dry, and then we'll go right back in and put another coat on there. Okay, now I'm going to set that back over here, clean my brush. I'm going to put that same color on the outside of the tray here, but I'm going to decoupage those pieces on it first before I do that. We'll decoupage those and let them dry, because we're going to go back and do a little bit of shading and stuff around them. So we will decoupage them on, and while they're drying, we'll paint that edge, and then we'll just kind of work back and forth. Okay, thanks for the hearts, girls. I appreciate that. Okay, now I've got and I use Mod Podge, which I have watered down. If you're new to me, I use Mod Podge. I buy it by the gallon because I use a lot, and it doesn't take very much. Very little bit. Most people wet things down and wet them, and you don't need to do that. It takes very little bit. And I put my Mod Podge in these little cups. Don't want to work out of that bottle of Mod Podge, because every time you put your dirty brush over in that, you're going to contaminate your glue. First thing you know, you're going to be half the bottle, and the other half is going to be trash, and you're going to have to throw it away. So I buy mine by the gallon, and a gallon lasts me. I'm working on a gallon over. I've been at it 2 years, and I've still got close. I'm looking at it in the floor here. Still got close to half a gallon left. And then I put a little bit of water in it. It's too thick coming right out of the bottle. So I put to a cup of this, which is probably about a cup, I put about a tablespoon or so of water in it. Mix it up, and then it's ready for me to use. You want a good sized brush using your glue. Takes very little to glue it down. I'm going to lay these down now and decide which design I'm going to put them, where I'm going to put them. I'm going to put this little piece of holly right there in the middle. And then I'm just going to take these around, kind of position them around on the thing. I'm not going to put them up on the edges, because I'm going to paint those edges. I've done a lot of these trays this year, girls. Not only the metal ones, I've done wooden ones. You can see those. There's a few of those left. I shipped one out yesterday to a lady, and I done a cake stand. She purchased a cake stand and a tray, and I shipped them out yesterday. But you can see a few of those over in my Etsy shop. And the wooden ones my son makes for me. He cuts them and makes the wooden trays have handles on them. I've done a lot of them this year and sold a lot of them. I worked the Gatlinburg Craftsman's Fair this year for the first time since 2019. Okay, I think that's just about how I'm going to lay it out. So I'm going to pick them up one at a time, raising my edge. I'm not going to take it all the way up, and I'm going to pick up a little bit of glue. Little dab will do you. Put a little glue right here underneath this print. Doesn't take very much to glue that down. Then I'm going to lay it down, take my finger. This is done on rice paper. Rice paper is very forgiving. It's not like napkins. You can work with rice paper. Is a whole lot easier to work with than napkins. Napkins are not very forgiving. And I can take my fingers and work that out. If I needed to, I would take a piece of saran wrap. I've got some laying around here somewhere, and I would just go over that with a piece of saran wrap. But I think I'm doing okay with my hands. I want all of those edges to be glued down, so sneak up under those edges of your paper. There's a little crease in my middle piece there, so I need to go over that crease with that. Put a little bit of glue, make sure everything is glued down, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue right on the top of it. Kind of seal it in. Just a little dab. It dries within 5 minutes. That'll be all dried and ready to roll. It's real quick, and you don't have to set with a dryer and dry it. It's just a real fast process. Okay, that one's on there. Now let's jump into this one. I'm going to hold it down so I don't lose my spot, and I'm going to glue this one down. Hey Emma, glad to see you. You're not too late, we're just getting started, but you can always watch a replay. Okay, take my fingers and work it down. I like doing these kind of pieces with the cut. You don't have to worry about the shading and stuff around. I like them to fade in as much as I can to where you don't see the paper. And you can get this one and shade around it, and then you can put enough varnish on this thing till it'll just sink right in, and you won't hardly be able to tell that it's paper on there. Okay, we got 2 of them on. See, this goes real quick. Around to the third one. Lift it up. Thanks for the stars, Pam. Lift it up. I'm trying to get with so many things going on, working on both my shops and I'm trying to set myself a plan for the year to be online a little bit more than what I was this past year. Of course, I took a couple of months this year to get off to work for the show, to do the Gatlinburg show, because I was in that show for 12 days in October. And I could have been in there for 18, but I chose not to do the whole thing. It was too much. But it took me about 2 months of hustling just to get ready for that. And I've worked that show for over 35 years. I've worked that show. But that was my last time. I stopped with COVID, and I didn't go back until this year, but I'm not doing it anymore. I'm done with the shows. I'm too old now. I don't like the sitting up and tearing down. But if you're going to do a show, it's good to set up in one like that where you can leave it set up. It's just like going to work every day for 3 weeks. You have to get up when you're not used to dressing of the day, and then you get up and go to work every day. That's hard. You have to get up and do your hair and, wear good clothes and stuff to go out. That's hard when you're not used to it. But I enjoy that show. It's good promoters, good people, good show. A lot of you, if you visited this area in October, it goes on in October and July. If you visited this area those months, you've probably been in there. Okay, I'm putting a top coat on them as I go. Around to this one. See, I've got every one of them already glued down. I work really fast. Whatever I'm doing, and I never work on one thing at a time. I've been working on tea kettles this evening, and I'm working on 4 at a time. So it's a waste of time to sit there with a dryer and dry something. Only time I work on one pieces is when I'm in class like this. And then sometimes I'm still working on more than one. I've been in the craft business all my life, girls. I started when I was 26 years old in the craft business. Okay. Now I'm going to put that one right in the middle. These trays are beautiful. Okay, now I've got the pieces all glued down. See how pretty that is? We're going to go back. We're going to let them dry. And then we're going to go back and do some shading around, do some highlighting and some shading. So the more little stuff like that you do, the better it looks, to make it look more like it's hand painted than just putting it on there. We'll shade around them and work on them a little bit. But I'm done with the glue, and I just got my hand. What did I do with that? Take my water a little bit there and see. It's a good thing I didn't get down in there. I got some color on that. Okay. Okay, now I believe I've got enough of this mixed up to go ahead and paint around my edges. So I'm going to, let me close my glue up here. I wouldn't put a cake directly on this, Viola. I would not lay a cake. Of course, I wouldn't put a cake on a cake plate unless it was glass anyway. I would put me a glass, set a glass plate on it, or a cake cardboard. I would get me a cardboard that fits completely under my cake, and I would put that cardboard on here. I would not put the cake directly on the stand, no. And I don't know if it's food safe, if it's safe to put that cake down on that plate, but I wouldn't want to treat my plate that way, so I wouldn't do it anyway. But I don't know, I can't tell you for sure that it would be food safe. Some people do advertise that what they use is food safe, and there are probably some out there that's food safe, but I don't know that they are, and I don't trust them to be that. Well, I like that color. Oh gosh, girls, you can't really tell, but that's beautiful color. It'll take 2 coats to make it look real good. Then we'll go back and put a little more color on top of that one. I'm just taking the edge of my brush and letting it, when you're painting something and you want to keep that line straight around there, let the edge of your brush, I've got a good flat brush, and let the edge of your brush go around that, where the flat surface is at, and you'll keep a good edge on that, what you want. You would never go in and paint it going in like that. You paint it around so that you keep a good flat edge and follow that edge right around there. Oh, that is beautiful. I might just keep this one for myself. I've got 2 of these plates. I used to do a lot of decorating and party stuff when we lived in West Virginia, but I don't do that anymore. I was trying to put up Christmas decorations this year, and I think of all the stuff I used to put up. I don't do that now, but then I did. I always used to have lots of Christmas decorations and lots of party stuff, but not anymore. Oh, that is a beautiful color. And that one is, this is Metallics Teal. Teal is what the metallic is, and I have added some black to it till I got the color. If you try to put the teal, if you try to use those metallics on something just by themselves, they have no pigment in them that's going to hold to that. You'd have to put a dozen coats on here, and then it'd still be different. They're not, I don't think they're really made to use them strictly by themselves. They're made to put over top of something else or to mix. Because I've tried them, putting them on by themselves, but they don't show up very good. Now sometimes I put the black, I would paint this black and then put the metallic over top of the black just in streaks, and that gives you a pretty effect. I do that a lot with gold. I use that Empress Gold in the metallic, and I put the black on and then put the gold over top of it. This tray's got lots of nooks and crannies, so you got to just work down into that. I like doing trays. I'm already working on spring designs. I've been working on Easter and Valentine's Day and in my shop, in my design shop. And tomorrow I'm going to start a sale tomorrow on my printed designs I got to get my thing out, but I'm going to have a sale on my printed designs. If you have them printed, if I print for you, I have a lot of regulars that I print for. I'm going to have a sale starting tomorrow, and I'm going to have a sale in my Etsy shop on the digital loads, and I'm going to run it through Christmas. I've already loaded some new spring designs in, and I've got a few Valentine designs in. I'll be putting in more every day. With Etsy, you have to kind of scatter it out. They want you to have a lot in your shop, but they don't want you to overload it all in one day. So usually when I add, I don't add more than 5 or 6 pieces at a time in the shop. Boy, that color is beautiful. I think that's my new favorite. Let's see. Are y'all ready for Christmas? I made a ton of candy last year, and I don't know, I made some peanut butter balls for along with Thanksgiving dinner, but I don't know if I'm not going to make nothing like I made last year. I made so much last year. Whew. Took me forever, but I don't have the time, and I'm not going to do that this year. The more I make, the more I eat. I haven't put up a Christmas tree yet. I'm going to try to do that this weekend. I just do a little one of those little pencil trees. Okay. Arizona City, Arizona. Dorothy, you're new? Girls, I'm sorry I miss your, if I miss your comments, I'm sorry about that, because I can't. Was the black? No, Donna, the black is just plain black, because you need that black. If you mixed black in the italic too, you still wouldn't get that. You need that black. I guess you call it opaque. Or you need that black to be that flat finish to, to hold this color in there. And that's what regular black does. No, I just use, this one happens to be Delta Ceramcoat. This is called just black. That's what it's called. I usually use Deltas or Folk Art or Americana in the black. But now I've mixed the black with so many different metallic colors, and I love them all. And you would never believe this one being blue. Of course, when you mix that pink, metallic pink with the black, you get purple. So now I know when I mix this teal, you get this real pretty shade of green mixing it with black. And when you're using, if I want this teal to be teal on this piece, then when I buy my paints, I buy a color. I don't see my teal sitting around here. But when I go I never buy stuff by what the color is on them, what it says. I don't see oh, here it is. If I go into the Hobby Lobby and I'm going to buy paint, and I want to use teal metallic, I look for me a teal or something close to it in the regular paints. And they don't have to be the same brand. This is a Folk Art, and it's actually called teal, and this is Deco Arts metallic. So if you put this one on your piece first and then put this teal over top of it, your metallic color will be teal. But if you try to just put this metallic on there, it don't work very well. So you need to put a color under it, and just look for something in your colors. If it's red, then look for a red paint in that color. If it's green, look for a green color that you can mix, that you can match it as close as you can. And then use those two. I would put a coat, if I was going to keep this teal, I would put a coat of that teal regular paint on here first. Then I'd go right back over it with the metallic after it was dry. And that would give you a real pretty teal metallic. Okay. Not new, been watching me about a year. Thank you, I appreciate that. I like what I do, girls. I'm not on, I'm not as live on Facebook because I don't, we're all in this, all crafters are in this to make money. You know that as well as I do, everybody knows. And your money's made. I don't, I'm too old to grow a Facebook that's going to pay me a lot of money or, and I don't make my living this way. It's extra money for my grandkids and, vacations and stuff. So my money's made on selling my products and selling on Etsy and so that's why I'm not on live a lot, and then like I said, I have family obligations that, my husband has lung disease and it's not good. It's, and I have to be on call all the time. So if, he could get up this morning and have to be in the hospital today. So, and I never know. And so I don't like to obligate myself to go on somebody's group and do a class for them, and then I have to cancel. So I love what I do. I've been at it many, many, many years, and I tried to quit. And I came to Tennessee in '09, and I thought, I quit. I'm going to quit crafting and quit. But that didn't last very long. When you're used to working at home, it's hard to sit at home and not do nothing. And I like to cook and I like to bake, but you can only do that. You can only eat so much. So I went right back to crafting again. And I've done all kinds of crafts. But painting has always been my love. It is, Emma, it is hard to get the metallics. You cannot cover a piece of white or something with just metallics right straight out of the bottle, because it will not cover. I've not found anything that would get that color to come out. You have to put a base coat underneath it. That's like painting red. When you paint red, years ago we learned, when you paint red, it's hard to get a red that turns out to be a good red when you put it on something. So years ago we learned to put a base coat underneath that red and then put that red on there. We now have some reds that are better, but that's the way metallics are. You need a base coat for that to attach to. See the light in that? Look at that one. Gosh, that's beautiful. I love that. Now, I'm going to, while that's getting a little dry, let's see if I got all those little edges covered. I'm going to go right back down to the bottom and put another coat on that bottom. Okay, so I'm going to turn it up here a little bit. Hold on to it. Go right back down here and put me a second coat on there. And this one hopefully will be enough. I believe it's going to be. You can get some beautiful colors with these metallics. They're rich looking, very rich looking colors. I'm just working right around the piece. This second coat is going to be enough for that. Okay. Yep. And I've not used as much paint as I mixed up, which is a waste. And if you, like you were going to use it tomorrow, you could save. I buy these little tiny bottles, storage bottles from the Dollar Tree. And sometimes, like if I was working tonight and I was afraid that tomorrow I was going to have some spots on this that didn't cover good, then I would put that paint in one of those little bottles and save it. And it'll last for 4 or 5 days, but it won't last very long. So, when you're mixing it up, and it's always better to have too much than not enough. So most of the time I waste paint trying to, when I'm mixing it, because I mix up way too much. Boy, I think this is the prettiest color in the metallics that I've used so far. This make a beautiful gift for somebody for Christmas. Now I'm going to have to turn it here this way, girls, so I can see it. So you can't really see what I'm doing now. I'm down under here, but I have to turn it so I can see what I'm doing. Now see, the top is almost dry enough till I can come right back up to the top and put another color on there. Another coat. It really makes those Christmas bulbs stand out. You imagine this on your buffet at Christmas time and setting. You could put you a candle in the middle of it. Would be beautiful. Just make you an arrangement on the top of it, a candle. Real pretty candle on it would be gorgeous. I wouldn't use it for a cake because I'd want to show it. I'd want it to show. If I was decorating my table and all, I'd use it for a centerpiece with something on it so that you would be able to see it. If you cover it with a cake, then you can't see what you've got. If you give somebody, I figured a long time ago, I realized if you give somebody a Christmas decoration for Christmas, they never get rid of it. 10 years down the road, they say, oh, so-and-so gave me that in 1972 or whatever year it was. And they keep them. They remember who gave it to them and when they got it. They don't get rid of stuff. You know, Christmas decorations people don't get rid of until they have to, till they're wore out. They keep them year after year. Okay, I think I've got that. See, can you see that? Oh gosh, that color is beautiful. You see that down on there? The color of the metallic is Deco Arts Teal. Deco Arts Teal. This is the metallic color that I used. Okay? Deco Arts Teal in Dazzling Metallics. Okay? And I've mixed it with plain black. Just black paint. Okay? Now, this is dry enough for me to come right back up here and put my second coat on this top. So I'm going to go right back around again. This time it covers real easy and quick. I was going to overlay with this with a little bit of gold, but I'm not even sure I will do that. I might hit a few highlights with a little bit of gold just to highlight a few spots. But it's such a pretty color. That I don't even know if I will do that or not. This tray is got lots of raised places on it, so I may just go back and hit the raised spots with a little tad of gold on top of that. Boy, that is a gorgeous color. I don't know what you call that. It's mixed, you know, it's a mixed shade of like a green, but it's not anywhere near the teal, so, but it sure is pretty. 1972, you was in junior high school, Peggy. My daughter was born in 1972. I graduated high school in 1968. My daughter was born in 72 and my son was born in 77. Time goes by so fast, girls. And the older you get, the faster it goes. The years roll by. Remember when you were in high school and, oh Lord, you couldn't wait for summer to hit. Couldn't wait to just, school to be out and summertime to come. Now they roll by so fast that, it's gone before you know it. I think I'll take a little tiny ring of beads and put, bling, and put around there. Just to where that little edge is at. I've got some little tiny stuff that's from Hobby Lobby. I forgot the name of the beads. I'll look and tell you. But I think I'll do that. The very last thing, I'll take some 7000 glue and glue that little teeny tiny strand of beads around there, of gold beads. That'll just hide that little edge there. I'm almost around it. Oh, hi Shayna, how are you? You've been doing some pretty designs with my things and the others too. Glad to see you in here. I did your caramel last week in the crock pot and all my jars sealed but one. I went back into my pantry a couple of days later and one jar wasn't sealed. She made caramel in the crock pot, girl. She has Frame It and Contain It, and she's been doing cooking Christmas in a jar. And we made caramel out of condensed milk. And I used to do that. I run a candy shop. When I first started in the craft business, I had a candy shop, and I taught candy making. And we used to make caramel, but we just put it in covered it with water and left it in the can. And would boil it for a few hours and it'll caramelize. Then you can cool it and open it up and you got caramel. Oh gosh, that color is gorgeous. Look at that. Boy, that looks rich. That looks like it's worth $1,000. Where did I get the cake plate from? That's an old piece of silver plate. It come from a yard sale. See, that is beautiful. Whew, I like that one. Okay, now I'm going to go back and I'm going to shade a little bit around some of these things. And I'm going to choose a color. Let's see what I'm going to use. I'm going to use a little bit of glazing medium. You could use your paint color like Kathy D. Yeah. Vintage to chic teal. That's true. Kathy, she's the one I saw first mix some colors with some metallics. This is glazing medium, and I'm going to use it to move my paint a little bit. If you're new to me, instead of just painting on, I'm going to kind of shade it a little bit and use some glazing medium so I don't get a real thick shade when I go around. As soon as I can find me a decent brush here. I think I can use that one. I'm going to use a good flat brush. Got to have one with a good sharp point on it. That one might be better. That's a new brush. And I'm going to go in and shade. This is an old toll painting thing, you know. And let's see what color I'm going to use. I think I'm going to use some, this color here is called Blue Mist. And I'm going to put some shading underneath around my pieces that I've put on here. And it will just help sink them a little bit. And shading and highlight. Shading pushes things away from you. Highlight brings things closer to you. So I'm going to put a little bit of that on my palette. And I've got a good flat, you need a good flat brush to work with this, to do this with. And I'm going to load my brush with the painting medium first. I'm going to put some painting medium in that brush. I could do this with water, but when you're learning, it's hard to do it with water. And glazing medium is just a form, it just makes things move. It's got a thickness to it because, see, it'll stand up like your paint. And it's got a little thickness to it that water don't have. If you're experienced enough, you could do this with water. You just put your brush in the water and then blot it a little bit and then pick up your paint. But it's very easier to do this painting medium. So I've got a little medium on my brush. Then on just the left side, I'm right-handed, just the left side of my brush, I'm going to pick up a little corner, put my corner of my brush in that paint. So I've only got, see how tiny? You can barely see that little bitty tiny bit of paint on there. And I'm going to blend it on my palette back and forth until it blends. And having that medium in my brush makes that paint just go from paint to nothing across my brush, so it won't look like I outlined a piece. Then I'm going to use the full flat of the brush, and I'm going to lay it down right under that piece with the paint side next to my ornament, and I'm going to pull that paint right around. That's hard for you to see on the picture. When I get it all on there, maybe you'll be able to see a little better. What it's doing is shading a little bit. Now, if I did that with a liner brush, it'd just look like a line. Let's see if you can see that. Now I got to figure out where I done it at. Okay, on this red one here. See that little bit of green I've got right down underneath that shading right here? Right here. See how that's shaded right under there? That's what I'm doing. And that just shades that along the line of that, kind of gets rid. I lost my place again. Okay, now I'm back over here. So I've got medium on one side of my brush and paint on the other. Blend it on my palette and then lay it down flat. I'm using the full flat of the brush, but paint's only on one side. And I'm going to go all the way around that piece. It'll go a long way. After I get all of them shaded, it'll show up a little better when I get it all on there. This just helps my piece, helps to hide the edge of that paper, and it just, you know, pulls the thing out a little bit. Now let's see if you can see the difference in that one. This one here is the one I've done. See that shading down under there? And then this one below it is not, you know, is not shaded. Can you see the difference in that? Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing around each one. Okay. Come right here and go around this one. Not putting any paint over on the actual paper. I'm right at the edge of that paper. And because I've got that medium on there, it's not making an outline. It's just putting a shadow in behind that piece. Okay, got two of them done now. Let's skip right on around. Do this one. When I blend, I can go right back to the same place on my palette and pick up that medium and that paint and blend it right again in that same spot. I don't have to jump around on my palette. Little medium on the left, little paint on the right, or medium on the other side, the left, the right, and paint on the left, because I'm right-handed. If you were left-handed, it'd be just the opposite for you. And my little finger is my guide. That's what controls. Of course, I've got the edge of this tray, but if I need to control that brush, that little finger goes down on that piece first. That's what keeps me from, you know, from losing my place and setting down too heavy. That little finger always controls what I'm doing. Okay, so I've got 3 of them done. run out of things to say. Okay. Something new. You learn something new every time you watch me. That's a good thing. That is a good thing. I taught many, many years in my shop, girls. I taught for, well, I had my shop for 12 years, so I taught for those 12 years, and then I taught classes after that, so I have taught painting classes for 25, 30 years. Everything from oil paints to you name it. Started with oils. And everybody, some people always, you know, everybody does things at a different pace. But if you're planning to make a business of it, you know, you're working a little harder. But if you're just wanting to learn to paint for your own benefit, if your painting suits you, that's all you want to do. That's all you need to do. If you can, you know, develop your skills enough, and naturally, some people you're going to develop farther than others. The more years you do it, the more you practice, the better you get, just like any other craft. I've done everything from crochet to you name it. I've done it sometime in my lifetime. I've worked all kinds of crafts. Did macrame for many, many years, everything from Christmas ornaments to chairs. Cake decorating, candy making. I've done it all. And I enjoy a lot of it. I don't sew very well. My granddaughter asked me this evening if I could sew something she got. I told her, I said, well, Morgan, I can sew, but I don't sew very well, and you wouldn't like it when I got it done, so. I do crochet. Our church used to we have a program here in our county that's for unwed mothers, and they have a teaching program that teaches young girls how to help them to learn to take care of babies. And they have a store. If the girls take the classes, and like they do, they earn points. And then after those points, they get to spend those points in the store, in their store that they have set up, and they shop for their babies. And people donate, you know, so a lot of times in the winter, and one winter I made baby blankets all winter long, because I could turn out a baby blanket, crochet one, and, you know, one every evening I could do one sitting watching TV. But that's a good program that they have. And those girls can, we would have baby showers at church, and not for a person, they would be for that service. And then we would donate all the stuff. We'd have a party and have a baby shower. And then all of that merchandise that was collected would go to that organization. It's a real good program. Okay, now you can see a little bit better. See, can you see the shading? See the shading? What brand of medium have I used? I've used different ones, and this is the one I'm using right now, Folk Art, and I'm almost out of it, and I haven't found one to replace it. And for years I used Deco Art, and it's no longer available either. And I bought a bunch of, I forgot what the brand is here, let's see. Yeah, it's Deco Art. I bought a whole case of this, and I'm not crazy about it, but I'm probably going to be forced to use it. So it is actually says glazing medium on the bottle. So if you look when you're in the store, look in Michael's and Joann's and those places, and see what you can find that says glazing medium. This one happens to be Folk Art, and I'm very sparing with it. I use it a drop or two at a time because I'm hoping it'll last me a long time. But it does make a big difference. Okay, let's see. I think I'm going to put some curlicues. I'm not going to highlight. Usually I do a little bit of highlight too on these flowers, but they are so detailed. My ornaments are so detailed that I don't feel like I need to do any highlighting things on them. So I'm just going to take my striper brush, which is a long liner brush. It's about about a ½ inch long or so. And I'm going to get me out some dark green, like evergreen. And I'm going to put a little bit on my palette. And when you're using a liner brush like this, your paint needs to be about the consistency of ink. So I'm going to dip it in the water. I'm going to put a little water on my brush, and I'm going to bring it down here into my paint, and I'm going to just tap it till I get that brush loaded really good. And that paint, I thin that paint down a little bit. I'm going to make little thin lines. I call them curly cues, but I want that paint to flow off that brush real easy, so I'm going to load it real good, roll it to a point, and then I'm going to set it aside, and I'm going to show you here on my paper. I keep a cardstock on this. I'm using my little finger to, to control that brush, and I'm going to use the very tip end of it. If you slant that brush, if you do it this way, you're going to have a thick line, okay? So you want to hold it straight up and down, and then I'm just going to set it down and go back, and that's curly cues, see? And I'm going to do that. I'm going to go right here on my piece, and I'm just going to pull some out. No rhyme or reason as to where I put them. It's just a little addition of a little accent that goes on the most pieces that I do. This and spackling with a toothbrush is my go-tos for kind of filling in, extra fill-ins. But I'm just going in, set that brush down. Don't even have to hit it every time. See, I'm just coming in, curling that right around there. Pull them in. Put a couple in the middle of this off of these holly leaves. Okay, it just puts another little accent in there. See? Just makes it look a little more detailed. Okay. Okay. And I'm going to hit the top. I'm going to go back now, and I'm going to try a little bit of gold and hope this works, because if it don't, I can paint back over it. I'm going to use a little bit of Empress Gold. This is Metallics Empress Gold. And I like this one really well. My palette is just about full. I can put, with a wet palette, girls, I can put my paint out this morning and it lasts all day long, because I've got a sponge underneath that paper and it keeps my paint wet all day. Now I'm going to just take my brush, and I'm going to just kind of brush it real easy in that gold. I'm not going to pick up very much. I'm just getting a little bit. And I'm going to come right back in here, and I'm just going to hit and miss. Just hit and miss a little bit, to put me a little bit of variation of color on that. Just on these high places where this tray is very ornate. See how pretty that is? And I like that, so I'm going to do that all the way around. And I'm just going on the parts that's kind of raised up. Don't want to paint it all over. I just want to hit and miss in spots. And since the top of it is the focal, I'm not going to do anything to that bottom. I'm just going to leave the bottom of it like it is. Because if it sits on somebody's table, nobody's going to pay attention to the bottom of it. It's too pretty on the top. This is one of my favorites in a while. Got some pieces right down in the bottom there. Just kind of pulling that gold out away from it. I'm not getting in that big glob of paint. I'm just kind of stroking it over to the side a little bit. So I'm just picking up a scant amount of paint. And that way I can rub my brush real hard on there, because it's like dry brushing. If you know what dry brushing is, I'm just kind of dry brushing that gold on there. I will use a gloss varnish on this, and I can varnish it tomorrow. I can do it. I don't like to varnish and then sit there with my thing, because I will put multiple coats. And if you're using the brush on varnish, you can do a coat about every 30 minutes. So if I played with it tomorrow and really want to do it, I can get it, you know, I can put 10 coats on it tomorrow. Just going, you know, do one and let it dry for 30-40 minutes and then go back and get another one. And the more coats you put on it, the better it'll look. If you're not following me, girls, I hope you'll come along and hit that button and follow me. I don't worry about, because I don't plan to be monetized on anything on Facebook, so I don't really worry about how many people I got coming along. But if you follow, you will get the notifications as to when we're going to be on here. I hope I have taught you something today. Pulled out all of my metallics for tomorrow. Got them all out. Go through. I got a shelf over here of paint and stuff, and I got a whole lot of metallic colors. I've got probably maybe 15, 20 different colors. And so I always go, when I go to town, I live only about 2 miles from Hobby Lobby. I think last week I went like 3 times. Get your metallics out and mix them. Now I can mix them on my palette, and you know, you can't hardly see the color you got until you paint it on something. If I'm over here where I've mixed them, they all look alike kinda. But then when you paint it on something, you know, it changes it completely. So get them out and play with them. You'll be amazed at what they do. What a difference it makes. Like I said, it looks so rich in color. And then after I get it in the morning, I don't know if if I decide to put that bead on there, I may have to put it on after. I may not put it on there, since I'm going to put a lot of varnish on it. I may not put the beads, because I don't want to varnish over top of them beads and then they might come off, so I may not put those beads on there. I can put me some liquid pearl, and I can varnish over top of the liquid pearl. I can go around and make me a dot of use liquid pearl in the bottle and put it all the way around and have it, and do that, and then I can varnish right over top of that. If you don't know what liquid pearl is, it's good stuff too, girls. It comes in a little bottle, and it's exactly what it says. It's just like looking at a pearl, but it's liquid. You squeeze it out, and it stands up, and it looks just like a pearl. And I love that. Look. Isn't that gorgeous? See? Too busy watching you to notice. See how pretty that is? Gosh, that's beautiful. Ooh, that's one of my favorite pieces in a while, girls. Now I still got to go back in here, and I'll just put a coat of, you know, that's not too bad. I might not. Because usually when I do silver, unless it's rusted on the bottom, I don't paint the bottom. But everything else I do. But this piece, I got that white spray paint up on there, so I may go back in and paint that a coat of white, or I might just put this metallic on there, on the bottom of it. But it's pretty like it is. And that is gorgeous. And I think I will take my toothbrush and put just a little bit of color on the top of that. And my go-to in that is cranberry wine. And I'm going to take my palette here and just flip it over, because I'm full of paint. Turn that right over there so I can get some paint on my paper. Okay. put out just a little bit of my paint. And I'm going to get my palette knife and I use a toothbrush. Get an old toothbrush down here. And I'm just tickled to death with this one. This is one that's really pretty, girls. Okay, I'll go back when I'm done and look at all your comments and your questions, and I'll answer them for you, girls. I'm sorry I can't keep up with it while I'm working, so, and I don't have anybody to sit here with me. But I have thinned that paint down. I've thinned this white down now with my palette knife. Took it, put a little bit of color on there, and it's a cranberry color. It's called, and in fact it's called cranberry wine. That's what I like to use, to put just a little. And I'm going to take my toothbrush, using the very tip of my toothbrush is all I'm going to use. So I'm just going to tap it in that paint, getting a little bit of color on the tip end of that toothbrush. And then I'm just going to go in here, and I'm not going to put it on the ornaments. I'm going to put a little bit in between them. I'm going to pull that brush, this palette knife is out here, and I'm going to pull it toward me on that brush. So very lightly, I'm going to go in and just put a little bit of color, little tiny bit, in between those ornaments. I don't want them to be too big, so I'm loading the brush often with just a little bit. I put this one on Etsy, it'll probably sell right away. So I may use it for Christmas before I sell it. I've got one more of these, so I'll probably be doing another one. I might do it in a different color. I don't want to cover my ornaments with this, so I'm being real careful just to go in between them, because I don't want to get it up on my actual Christmas ornaments. And when I sign them, I'll sign it on the bottom. Okay, I think I'm done with it. Put that over there to wash, to clean, and clean up my mess in the morning, but I love the way it turned out. Look at that. See how pretty that is? And just the bottom, I'm just going to leave that bottom plain. See, it shines on its own. That metallic has just got a shine to it, and it's not a focal, not anything that I need to do to make sure that that's seen when it's on the table. So I'm not going to do anything else to it. I could go down there and put a gold ring around that, but that would just draw more attention to it, and the attention needs to be to the top. So see how pretty that is? That's the prettiest metallic color I've mixed so far, girls. That one is beautiful. Okay, it is now after 8. We're not too bad. We just took an hour and 15 minutes to do that and talk too.